you. Thank you for coming.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. And this is my mother, Nicole Holland. I'm Brenda Hancock. And the book that you are here to see about is a story of my mother's life. My sister and I grew up listening to Mother tell these amazing stories. We'd be sitting at the table eating dinner, eating breakfast, and something would trigger a memory, and she'd start going off into one of her amazing stories. So I wrote it as if Mother were sitting at the table telling her stories. So it's all in first person. She approved almost every single chapter without changes. I finally got it so she liked it, and I finished the day before school started again, so it was like, whew, got that done. One thing led to another, and here it is. Does anyone have any questions?
Well,
Jennifer?
Did you talk about when you figured out how extraordinary Amy's response was?
No, I did not realize how extraordinary her life was until a friend of mine recommended that I read Sarah's Key, which is a novel that begins the same day that the authorities came to arrest Mother, only Mother escaped. Her sister didn't. They came for both her sister and her, and the sister was taken and Mother wasn't. Well, in Sarah's Key, it's a novel. They came that same day to arrest Sarah's entire family, and Sarah's little brother was not taken, but he died as a result. Sarah survived. And her life parallels Mother's. I'm not going to ruin Sarah's Key for you. There are many parallels, except that Mom is extraordinary. Yes?
Nikki, I know you don't want to talk too much, but have you had a chance to talk to your brother in Los Angeles about the book yet?
Oh, he's got it.
And is he reading it?
Oh, he already read it.
He read it, okay.
And he cried. He said, "You remind me so much of what we went through when we were young." And he said, "You make me cry." And I said, "Well, I cried when I saw you, too." You know? But that you're going to have to find out in the book, what happened to my brother and I.
Yes.
Until I read Sarah's Key, I knew nothing about how the Jewish people were treated in France.
It's not just in France, in Europe, all over Europe.
Why do you think that
All over Europe.
history didn't teach us about that? I mean, a lot of my friends read that book and they said the same thing. I didn't know that happened in France.
Well, it's not just in France, and I'm not the only one who done it, but there was all over Europe. I mean, every country in Europe did have that to do, and there was French, English, no, not English, what am I talking about, but all the European countries, there was girls like me, tried to give their life for their country.
Right.
And for the family who perished. I got to tell you what my brother did. He never talked to he was sitting with my father, and for 3 days when the train was going, he never said a word to my father. He never did ask any question. He was 16 years old. But when he came back, he said, "I could see Daddy's mind going," but he wouldn't talk. He didn't talk for 3 days in the train from France. But what my brother did, what my mother asked him to do, is to send a letter to my oldest brother. But what he did, the train was going, and he wrote this letter, and he threw it down with just the address of my brother. No stamp, no nothing. And somebody picked up this letter from the railroad track and mailed it to my brother. In 1984, it wasn't 84, 82, my brother went back to Paris, and he went back to Germany. And on his way back, he stopped in Paris, and he see my brother, and my brother said, "I got something, I want you to have it now." I kept it, and we just find it now. And it was in, I forgot the year it was, and I got a copy of this letter. And he said, "We're about 100 in a cattle car, and it's people dying, people are crying, it's awful what's going on." He said there is one bucket for 100 people to use in 3 days trip. So He saw a lot more than I did. He was 16 when the German took him, with my parents. He was 19 when he came back. And you're gonna have to read the book to see to see how I find him. So that was an experience too. And otherwise he wouldn't have known if any of us were still alive or dead or what. But the good Lord wanted me to find him. So I find him. And I give him the good news. Some of my brother and sister were still alive. And they were here, and I did have my oldest brother and my two older nephews. They all three was in the French underground, but they didn't know where I was, and I didn't know where they were. They were sent in south of France. I was in south of France, and they was in the mountains, in the Alps. So they didn't know it, and I didn't know either till we all come back to Paris. And that was a reunion when I find my little brother. Yeah, she started writing about being a romantic. We didn't have time to be romantic. We didn't have time to, we didn't know if we're going to live 30 minutes from now, you know, because if we'd been cut, they wouldn't ask any question then. They'll shoot you right there in front of anybody. I saw so many horrible things happen. I couldn't believe it.
But Barbara asked me why I didn't put more about Willie in there.
Oh, boy.
You'll have to go visit. No, Willie's not really in the book, just a little bit, but we heard
Well,
stories
Willie's
about
dead. He's been
Willie.
dead a long time.
Willie's dead. Don't worry about
Let him
Willie.
rest in peace. It was a boy who was in the French underground too, but he was the friend of my, he was the brother of my friend. So she was putting in his mind, I'm gonna get married to him and be his sister-in-law. But
Her sister.
sister-in-law. But then nothing happened like this, and I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I married my husband.
Yes,
This is it.
How did you get to the United States?
my
I
dad.
married a GI, who's right in there with me.
He was from Alba, Texas. There's maybe one stop sign in the whole town still. Population about 200. Mother was from Paris, France. Daddy was about ready to go overseas, and they sent him home to visit first. And the last thing my grandmother said to him was, "Son, whatever you do, don't bring home one of them French girls." And he said, "Oh, Mom, don't worry, I won't. Dear Mom and Dad, if you do not sign the papers, I will re-enlist and stay here until I'm old enough to marry her. So please sign these papers so I can marry her."
I did.
They did. And they lived happily ever after.
Yeah, but I did because the captain and the minister, the Methodist minister, sent him letters, you know, and said if I did have a son and he would want to marry this girl, I would sign the paper. So they signed the paper, and we got married twice the same day.
Question?
How did they communicate if they didn't speak?
How did we?
Well, the lady that my dad asked to dance first did speak English, and oftentimes she would go on dates with them to be the translator, but then Mother said she could understand Daddy. She couldn't understand anybody else, but she could understand Daddy. So maybe it was the language of love. Yes?
And she said to me how much fun they had dancing. They spent a lot of their courtship, I think, having a wonderful time dancing.
They did. When she had polymyositis, she could walk if you picked her up, but she couldn't get up, and she could brush her teeth but not her hair because the enzymes were attacking her muscles. And when the disease finally started to go into remission, we went dancing one night, and Mom got up and danced with Dad, and I cried like a baby because I thought I would never see them dancing again. And it was just so miraculous to be able to see that. That just melted my heart. Thank you very much.
Buddy, and thank you for coming. And you're going to have to buy my book. But I love and thank you, everybody who came. I love you all.
We love you.
Sorry, Elizabeth. Thank you.